Good evening and welcome to Mining the Riches of the Parsha. Tonight is Thursday night, January 23rd, 2025. I am thrilled to be with you tonight, and I'm grateful to every one of you for setting aside time for us to study together. Tonight, what I want to do is a bit different. What I have to discuss with you is not really connected to this week's Torah portion, which is VaEira, but I have three isolated topics. They're not related to each other, not related to the Torah portion. Each one is different from the other. And we'll see how it goes. The first subject I want to discuss with you is an area of practical Jewish law. And I have shared part of this before with some of you. It's a very important subject, and it's something that a person has to know well because it has to do with taking action in a crisis or an emergency. So a person's got to know the rules clearly. It happens that it just came up for me this past Shabbos, and so it was on my mind to share it with you again. The Mishnah Brura was written by Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan of Radin. He's also known to us as the Chafetz Chaim, and it was written in the early 1900s. It is a classic and authoritative work on practical Jewish law. The Mishnah Brura writes in the laws of Yom Kippur concerning the question of if a person is sick, under what circumstances do we set aside the fast of Yom Kippur because a person is sick. The Chafetz Chaim makes the following comment. He writes, if you ask a rabbi on Yom Kippur if you're allowed to break the fast due to your illness, and because of the delay in acting, due to the time it takes to find the rabbi and ask, and due to that delay, there is a negative consequence, the rabbi is responsible for the harm because he did not sufficiently teach these guidelines before Yom Kippur so that people would know them and know how to act without having to take the time to try to find the rabbi to ask him on the spot. When I reviewed this passage just after I became a rabbi, I thought to myself, come on, Chafetz Chaim. Rabbis are already blamed for everything. If the food at Kiddush is too salty, it's my fault. If the toilet in the shul is backed up, it's my fault. If someone, God forbid, suffers a tragedy, it's my fault because they can't yell at God. They don't get any satisfaction out of that. So they take it out on me. And by the way, these are not just three random examples. All three of these things, and many, many more, have happened multiple times to me. And now, if someone is harmed because they didn't know if someone should break their fast on Yom Kippur, that's also my fault. Come on, Chafetz Chaim, give me a break. But of course, the Chafetz Chaim is correct. It is my fault. So I try frequently to teach these guidelines relating to Yom Kippur, relating to Shabbos, and to other situations where we need to set aside one mitzvah in favor of another. So just to oversimplify for a moment what we have studied before and will certainly review again, for a lesser potential danger, only rabbinic prohibitions are set aside, and for more serious potential problems, all prohibitions are set aside. So we have to learn the standards, what is considered a lesser danger and what is considered a more serious potential danger. We need to learn those guidelines very clearly, and we have to learn how to apply them. We've discussed it before, and we will discuss it again. But for a moment, I want to take a step back. And I want to take a more elemental view of this subject. Because over a few weeks, I have had the occasion to set aside the laws of Shabbos twice for medical emergencies. Both situations worked out. Both people today are fine, Baruch Hashem. But the two situations are illuminating in terms of what all of us can learn about applying this subject ourselves. In one case, after the fact, the patient needed no treatment. It was just a scare. It was a false alarm. In the other case, the person did need treatment, which was quickly and easily given and quickly effective. But without treatment, there could have been a bad outcome. But here's the point. It would not be correct to say that my decision to set aside Shabbos was correct 50% of the time, because the standard for setting aside Shabbos or Yom Kippur or any other mitzvah is not evaluated on the outcome, but whether there was the potential of a problem when the question was asked. Now, I want to be very, very clear. Please hear me clearly. The standard is not illness or threat to life, but rather the possibility of illness or threat to life if left untreated. You know, there are many things that there's a very easy treatment, like antibiotics. But if it would be untreated, there could be a serious outcome. So again, I want to emphasize this. We set aside all the laws of the Torah when someone is sick and has only the possibility that it could lead to something serious, and it even in a situation where it would only possibly be serious if it was left untreated, even though the treatment is easily available and readily available. So that's a very important standard to understand. We evaluate the case based on when the question is asked. And there's a second crucial lesson that comes from these two instances that I encountered. In one case, I had immediate access to a medical professional I could consult, who gave their expert opinion on the level of risk that this patient faced. And that, of course, was very important in my decision-making about setting aside the laws of Shabbos. In the other case, I was in a remote location, and I had no access to a medical professional unless I were to set aside Shabbos. I only had my own layperson level of knowledge about the possible condition and its possible consequences. In both cases, a person must use the knowledge and resources immediately available, which could vary widely. There's a big difference between being able to ask a medical professional and not having any medical expertise anywhere around. There's a principle in Jewish law. It relates to judges, but it's relevant here. Ein l'dayan ela she'ein ra'os. A judge has to judge based on what their eyes see, based on what is in front of them. A person has to evaluate whether to set aside Shabbos on Yom Kippur or any other mitzvah based on what they see and know at that moment. And if a person is not sure, then we would always err on the side of setting aside Shabbos. If at that moment, based on the information that is immediately available to you, you determine that there is a possibility of either illness or threat to life if untreated, then we set aside the applicable mitzvos quickly and with full confidence that we did the right thing, even if it turns out that there was actually no problem. As a general rule, if you're in the hospital or you're going to the hospital, assume that all actions needed for your care and comfort that involve a violation of Shabbos or Yom Tov or Yom Kippur or whatever it is, assume that they are all set aside until you know for sure from an expert what is and is not allowed. But until then, if you're in a hospital, you're going to the hospital, assume that whatever is being done for your care and comfort takes priority over any other mitzvah. Okay, a new subject. Completely different. It's a story that I think has an important lesson. I need to be reminded of it, and perhaps you'll have some benefit from it as well. I heard this story from Rabbi Boruch Lederman, who's a wonderful person who, among many, many good qualities, tells great stories. There was a young married couple who moved into a new neighborhood. It was years ago. And the next morning while they were eating breakfast, the young woman sees her neighbor out the window who was hanging the wash outside. They didn't have dryers. They would hang the wash to dry on a laundry line outside. And so the young woman inside eating breakfast with her husband says, "That laundry is not very clean. That woman obviously does not know how to do the laundry correctly. Maybe she needs a better type of laundry soap." Her husband listened to her, and he was silent. Every time the neighbor would hang her wash to dry, the young woman would make the same comment to her husband sitting at the table in their apartment. About a month later, the woman was surprised to see nice, clean wash on the line of the neighbor, and she said to her husband, "Look, she learned how to do the wash correctly. I wonder who taught her this." And her husband said to her, "I got up early this morning and I cleaned our windows." That's how it is in life. What we see watching others often depends on how clean our windows are. And if we constantly see something that looks amiss, instead of criticizing someone else, maybe it's our windows, maybe it's our view that needs to be cleaned. Okay. Number 3. This is what I wanted to do with you last week. Was not able to. Maybe it was a sign from heaven. It's not a good idea, but I'm assuming that that's not the case. So I want to do something with you now. I have done this before, but only rarely. You may remember, if you were with us on those one or two times. Though each time I do this, the feedback that I get is very powerful, and I'm going to ask you for your feedback later. It's not what many of us are used to. And what we're going to do may be outside of your comfort zone. And you need to participate because it will only be as meaningful as you make it. I would like to do with you for a few minutes tonight a guided meditation. Now, especially if you just groaned to yourself and are about to click on the exit button. So that's fine. If you don't want to participate, that's fine. But I ask you to give it a try. You may be surprised. At least it will be relatively short. And who knows, maybe it will help you fall asleep tonight a little bit better. Okay. I am grateful to Rabbi Yitzchak Schwartz for the content of what we're going to do tonight. So let's talk for a minute about meditation. Meditation is kavana, internal focus. Now, meditation, kavana, can be internal focus on any chosen subject. It's a very important part of prayer to have kavana, to prepare to pray by focusing our attention on the words, on the interaction with God. But meditation is a self-reflection, a focusing of our thoughts. And in order to do it, you need to relax. So I'm going to ask you to either, you can close your eyes or you can keep them open. Either way is fine. I'm going to ask you to sit straight with your feet flat on the floor. And I'm going to ask you to think about each part of your body one at a time, relaxing. So I'm thinking to relax my forehead. I'm relaxing my neck. I'm focusing on relaxing my shoulders. I'm relaxing my fingers. I'm relaxing my feet, my toes. Just trying to relax. And now, I want to focus on breathing. I want to visualize the air coming into my lungs and filling up, and then breathing out, exhaling the air. So I'm going to take a deep breath in and exhale it. And I'm going to try to visualize the air coming in and then holding it for a moment and then breathing it out. So I'm breathing in. And breathing out. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out. And now I'm just going to breathe normally. but I'm focusing my attention on feeling relaxed throughout my body, with my breathing, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. We say that Shabbos is me'ein olam haba. It is a taste of the world to come. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing normally, in other words, on Shabbos, we look at the world, we look at our life as if all is perfect. We need nothing. We have whatever we need. So I'm trying to focus my thinking on what that feels like on Shabbos, that everything is perfect. Everything is finished. All my work is done. I'm breathing in, breathing out, Shabbos is me'ein olam haba, a taste of the perfect world to come. Shabbos is a mindset that is patterned after a future era when there will be nothing lacking. Breathing in, breathing out, nothing lacking in people, nothing lacking in anything else. Everything will be experienced as being whole and perfect just as it is. There will be no need to rectify anything or anyone else, including ourselves. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe normally. So again, you can close your eyes, you can keep them open. And the idea is to do this on Shabbos so that what we're doing now is a practice for what you may want to try at some point on Shabbos itself. Focus on being relaxed. See the air coming in, filling your lungs, breathing out. Focus on one person to start. Doesn't matter who. Someone in your life. And focus on seeing them in their perfected state. choose a person, and see them in their perfected state. Project what they will be like when they eventually reach their state of perfection. What will they look like? What will they be like when they're perfect? And then project how differently you will relate to that person when you are seeing them in this perfected state. When you see them not as they are now, but when they are perfected, focus on how differently you will relate to them when that happens. Now see that even their lack of perfection, the areas in which they do not reach perfection, that those areas are stepping stones to their perfection. See them as if they are on the way, and the things that are not perfect will help them to get to that perfected state. And finally, on Shabbos, in real life, relate to this person as if you already see them in their perfected state. How would your relationship with this person be different if on Shabbos you could see them as the perfected version of themselves? Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe normally. And lastly, do the entire process with yourself. Same questions, same visualizing, same focusing. You could start with one person. If you find it meaningful, you could do it with another. Perhaps each Shabbos, choose another person. But also remember to choose yourself. Make sure that you're comfortable. Make sure that you're relaxed. And focus your thoughts on this way to understand that Shabbos is me'ein olam haba, a taste of the world to come. Now open your eyes. Breathe deeply. And then normally. And have a great evening. My friends, I wish you a great night, a beautiful Shabbos. Try this, see what happens. Let me know. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person.